it's tricky. Some people say you only need a couple of guitars, but I use a lot of sort of like different tunings, and you need different string gauges for that. So you can't just swap it around. So my excuse is I need a lot for that reason. But
Alicia, welcome back to my channel. Look who I am joined with right now. It is Mr. Troy Redfern. Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you? How are you getting on?
Yeah, all fine. Yeah, keeping busy.
I can see that amazing setting you've got behind you there. It looks very impressive. Quite a heavy question to start, but I like to ask any musician this one. What does music mean to you?
As a listener or player?
Oh, well, as both. I would say as player first. What does it mean to you to be a creative, as a guitarist and everything else?
It kind of means everything to me, really. Since I was a kid, since I was probably 6 or 7, sort of music, I connected with sort of music and as I've sort of got older and sort of like, learned to play guitar and whatnot, it feels like the most natural sort of form of expression, and it seems to be the most immediate, sort of like I paint and I do other things, but music seems to sort of like be a sort of direct connection to sort of creativity.
Yeah.
You can do that sort of instantly, and because it's real time, because you're sort of doing it in the moment, and you can improvise and all that kind of thing, especially improvisation. It sounds a bit sort of like maybe cliche or sort of like slightly cheesy, but it's like it feels like a spiritual sort of connection, and if anyone asked what my religion was, I would say musician. Music is. It's kind of, it's on that kind of level, so it means everything.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. And I mean, growing up around the Welsh borders, which you did, do you still live there right now? Are you still there?
Yeah.
Well, growing up around the Welsh borders, I mean, I used to live in Wales myself for a year in South Wales, and it is beautiful, isn't it? The surroundings are amazing. You can be so free around there. What impact has that had from the beginning on your creativity, do you think?
When I was young, where I lived when I was growing up, it was kind of fairly isolated, and this is sort of pre-internet sort of days when I was sort of developing, my playing and learning to play. So that kind of isolation really probably helped, because you find things to do. These days, sort of, when kids have got so much stuff to do, they can play computer games or stuff like that, But I think back then, when I was sort of starting, the isolation sort of helped because I think it gave you, you had to focus on something, and luckily I found music. So,
Yeah, and obviously isolation, you talked about that. I mean, the question everyone's trying to avoid at the moment, I guess, but I'm assuming then if you that helped you, the isolated times. What about in the pandemic? How have you been getting on? I know you've got a lot of music coming out, so clearly you've been very creative, but aside from releases, you said you paint and things like that, how have you been getting on during this time?
As much as we all like to go out and play and gig, but it's given time to sort of focus on other things, like art and again, I've got a recording studio here, so I can be creative in that way. So I can always carry on sort of knocking ideas around and but also sort of family sort of time and stuff like that. Things that when you're gigging every weekend or you're gigging sort of throughout the week and you've got sort of tours going on, everything is sort of like focused on that. So it's been, in some ways, it's been nice to have a break to focus, you know.
Have you discovered any new music that maybe you'd not heard before? Have you learned anything about yourself? Anything like that? You know, has anything like that come out of the pandemic for you?
You know, I'm constantly listening to, you know, sort of Spotify, and I've been sort of digging into, you know, lots of 70s sort of fusion. I love that kind of sort of music, you know, so lots of Alan Holdsworth and stuff like that, and sort of 70s gong, and you know, that's kind of like a bit of a sort of like a, you know, guilty pleasure of mine. So I've had a chance to listen to a lot more. But as far, you know, it's, you know, time is moving really fast. Even though we're in lockdown, you know, sort of like it's things are speeding along. So you know, this last 6 weeks, you know, I've been wrapped up in sort of getting everything prepared for the release. You know, so that's been the main focus, you know, of everything, you know.
And when, you know, you get back to doing live music, have you played any live shows in front of audiences at this point? Have you managed to do that just yet?
I played Love Rocks.
Sure. Yes, of course you did. Yeah. How was that to finally get the show back on the road a little bit, and, you know, just be in front of people and showcase what you've been up to during this time? And how was that?
It was fantastic, you know, to get back out. It's slightly different with this one because I had a band that I'd not played with before ever. We didn't rehearse. I sent the material. It was Derby Todd, the guy who recorded on the album. I got him and to come and play, you know, and Lee Pomeroy, who plays with sort of Yes and lots of these like great prog bands, you know. So I knew they would know the material, but going to a gig like that, the first time out for 18 months and not rehearsing, you know, it was pretty sort of on the, you know, seat of the pants kind of stuff. But it was great, you know, the vibe was great. You know, people were just so pleased to get back out, you know, and see live music, and so the overall vibe, that festival was great. You know, the people who organised it, you know, they just did such a great job. You know, it's perfect. The weather was perfect. Everything was, you know, everything about it was great.
I know. I mean, I did see a lot of pictures about that actually. Yeah, and I mean, I think everyone got talking about Download, of course, this weekend. I was there as well, and yeah, just to see live music back on its feet again is so special. And let's just get straight into it. The Fire Cosmic is your new album. It is available for pre-order now. What can you tell us about this, and how are you feeling? Are you anticipating this release? Are you nervous, excited? What are you feeling?
All of the, you know, all the above. You know,
Sure.
It's been. You know, I recorded it sort of the beginning of, well, the main parts, the beginning of 2020, just before lockdown in February, before the, you know, the March lockdown.
Yeah.
So it got held for quite a while, and I didn't want to release it, you know, during the sort of like the early part of the lockdown, because, you know, we weren't sure how long it was going to go on, and you know, as you know, most of the sort of like the income from an album is when you're touring.
Yeah.
So it got put on hold. So you know, I was sat on it for a while and working on it and working with a producer. So it was all building, you know, and over that year we kind of like, you know, it was recorded and mixed, and then when you've got to put it out there, you know, it's kind of like, I was really happy with it, but you're never sure what people are going to make of it, you know. So it's a lot of anticipation about, you know, how is this going to be received, you know. So I'm so pleased the first single's out, at least, you know. So and the responses have been great, you know, which is really cool, because it's kind of I'm kind of known for sort of doing mainly blues music, or kind of like blues rock, but this is definitely more rock than blues.
Yes, I felt that.
yeah, it's definitely got, you know, but it's down to the production, down to Derby on drums, you know, because stylistically, you know, your drummer kind of like dictates really the kind of the sound you got, because if you got a heavy drummer, you can't help but be you know, the music's going to be heavy, and I got Derby Todd in, and he's pretty heavy, so you know, but I'm pleased it's gone that way, really. I think it needed to shift gears, you know.
Yeah. Do you believe in mixing it up, you know, record to record? Do you think that that's a good thing for a musician to maybe, you know, I think I would say it is, but I'm just curious what your opinion is on that.
Yeah, definitely. You know, it's always a risk, because, you know, you get a fan base who like you for one thing, and then if you go throw a sort of like, you know, a curveball, you know, people may not like it. But last year I was lucky, you know, we were saying about lockdown, I had a lot of time, so I put there was 5 albums I put out in that year, in 2020, and the last one was an instrumental album, and I'd had it on my hard drive for a long time. I'd recorded it, and I was a bit I was kind of like, you know, should I put this out or not, because it's so different to everything else I've done. and put it out. And weirdly, that one sold more than any of the others. So it was
Yeah.
you can't really second guess what people are going to like or what people are going to make of what you're putting out.
Yeah.
So, and that was cool in the way that in the future, if I decide to do something different, I'm not going to be too concerned about are people going to follow this.
Yeah. What would you think would be, if you had to make something tomorrow and it had to be super, super different, where do you think you would go? Would you go down your guilty pleasure route, do you think? Or, would you completely go left field if you think you could? I'm just curious where you would maybe want to put yourself as a musician if you didn't have to have a bracket per se.
I would love, I'm a huge Frank Zappa fan. I absolutely love Zappa's music and have done for years. And that's always been a part, even though that's not apparent on this recording I've just done, but I would love to do something which kind of mixed up, the time signature thing, and something more complex, that's what I'd probably do, and getting someone, like Darby Todd, who's just a master of that. Like he's going out, he's headlining Bloodstock with Devin Townsend, so Devin only gets the best players, so.
Yeah.
But I'd love to do something like that with Darby.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. I would love to listen to that for sure. Just you're a guitarist, aren't you? At heart, you love to play guitar. That is you. If I think Troy Redfern, I think guitars. So I'm just curious for you. Do you remember the first time you started playing a guitar? How it made you feel when you first picked it up, and do you still have that first guitar at all?
No, unfortunately I don't. And it's one of those things I do occasionally look for on eBay. I see if I can find one, the same model.
What was it?
And it was an Encore Coaster, which is kind of like they're quite cheap sort of guitars. I think it's about £115, back in the day.
Yeah.
And but I just loved it. At that sort of time, I was listening to lots of different music. I was kind of like listening to Jimi Hendrix, but then I was listening to Aerosmith and Motley Crue, because in the mid 80s, sort of mid to late 80s, that was kind of like a big thing.
Yeah.
And I remember learning sort of Shout at the Devil, and all that kind of stuff, but it was great because that music's quite easy and quite easy to play. So immediately you could do something that sounded like the record, and that's a great feeling. And I think that spurs you on. It's one of those things, when you take up an instrument. You get an endorphin rush if something goes well, or if you praise for something, if I've done a lot of teaching, and if you're sort of teaching sort of kids to play guitar, if they feel happy and they feel like they can do it, then that gives them obviously a boost to do more, and I think that's the thing, or on the opposite, if you don't feel good at something, you're not going to want to carry on with it. So.
Yeah, sure. Your collection of guitars, I'm just curious because I'm a guitar fan myself, and got my little acoustic there, but how big is your guitar collection? I'm just curious.
I think it's about 35, I think.
What? Is that big or not? I can't tell. Is that huge? I don't know. That's quite a lot.
It's quite a lot. I don't know what, it's tricky. Some people say you need a couple of guitars, but I use a lot of sort of like different tunings, and you need different string gauges for that. So you can't just swap it around, So my excuse is I need a lot for that reason. But yeah, they're all used for recording. On that album, I probably used about 6 different guitars. Because they've all got different stuff.
Yeah.
Not all of them are great. I've got sort of like, I would say sort of 12 really good ones, and then a lot of sort of things in between.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, that's pretty impressive. I think that's a good amount of lovely guitars. And I mean, it's no wonder you have to live out in these open spaces for extra storage room, isn't it? All of Troy Redfern's guitars out across the Welsh valleys. Yeah, no, it's great. And obviously talking about your new music, it's very exciting, your forthcoming new album. So just a reminder for anybody who's listening, Fire Cosmic, available for pre-order now. What's the release date? Because you've got a new single coming out in July as well, haven't you? Taken from the album. So
that's right. Yeah. And then I think it's 6th of August. That's when the album drops. So I'm super but I can't wait for the vinyl's due to arrive first week of July, so I can't wait to just get hold of that and see. This is the first time I had anything done on vinyl, so I'm really excited about that.
That is super special, isn't it? Are you a fan of vinyl yourself? I'm assuming. Do you have a lot of vinyl at home?
I don't, to be honest. I stupidly sold all my vinyl. How many years ago? God knows how many years ago, but shouldn't have done it. It's one of those things. When I started getting a larger CD collection, I thought, this vinyl.
Moved with the time.
But, I'm going to restart collecting. There's up in Hay on Wye, which I live close to Hay on Wye. There's a great record shop up there, so I'm going to start sort of recollecting, and obviously I need something to play the new album on.
Yeah.
What was surprising, I got the test pressings for the new album, and a friend of mine not far from here has got a system. It was about a 20 grand sort of record player, you know, it was just
Wow.
ridiculously high end.
Yeah.
And I took the test pressings to him to check them over, and the detail in the vinyl was ridiculous. You know, I've got some good studio monitors, you know, which should capture everything when you listen on playback.
Yeah.
But on the vinyl, I could hear things in the high end, on the reverbs and things that I couldn't hear just listening to it, you know, in a digital format, which really shocked me.
Yeah.
For something so crude to contain that much, you know.
Yeah, I know, you see the little thin lines and you think, how does this have every single track on it? But they're a work of art in themselves, aren't they, though? You know, the artwork and everything. I don't think there's anything as special as vinyl, and it's pretty cool to see a lot of new musicians bringing it back.
Yeah, and especially people like Jack White, you know, what he's doing with vinyl is crazy, you know, like the things he's incorporating, like the holographic thing that sort of like pops up when you play the record. And
that's so cool.
Oh, it's absolutely crazy, you know. There's a YouTube link basically which shows on one of his recordings. I'm not sure exactly which recording it is, but there's about 6 different things they've incorporated that have been used in history but kind of got forgotten. And the one that impressed me was when it played, they somehow engraved something into the vinyl, so they looked like a little holographic angel twirling as you looked at the vinyl. You know, it's just crazy, you know.
That's insane.
Which makes the product really, you know, for someone who's a collector, geez, you know, those are really special items, and you can see why this worth, you know, £60 or something, you know.
Oh my gosh, yeah, of course. You got to not sell them this time. Any Troy Redfern leftovers, which hopefully there won't be, but don't sell them. Keep them on yourselves. Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyway, on a couple of final notes, very, very excited to hear all of your new album. You know, new single coming, so July, so everyone should definitely look out for that. Right, always ask this random question. Have you got a motto, a saying, or a quote that you maybe like to live your life by?
Eat, drink, and be merry.
I love how quick that was off the bat.
I don't know, an old Roman saying, you know. I'll go with that one.
Brilliant. And obviously, on a final note, like a nice little ender finisher, have you got a message for anybody that's, you know, supported you on your musical journey? Have you got anything you want to let them know or say to them?
Well, I've got the Robert, John and the Wreck tour coming up in September, so it'd be great to see anyone, you know, if they want to come out and support that tour. And you know, as you know, Robert, John and the Wreck are just a fantastic band, so I'm super looking forward to that. Yeah. If anyone wants to buy anything, you know, and support the album in any kind of way, troyredfern.com, you can get everything from there.
Yeah.
And you know, I'd just like to thank people for, you know, for supporting it, because obviously this is all based on people supporting you. So
yeah, very exciting. Just a reminder for anyone, the Fire Cosmic available for pre-order now, out 6th of August. New single coming out in July, and of course Robert, John and the Wreck tour. See Troy Redfern on the road very soon. So very exciting. Thank you so much for chatting, Troy, and I hope you have a lovely day.
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you.